and just give everyone a minute. I'm assuming some people are still kind of checking emails and checking messages. Now that they hear our messages, or hear our voice, they'll start coming back. We'll get their attention here in a second. I don't know about you, Laura, but I feel like sometimes I must have been like a short order cook in another life. I just whipped up an egg and some toast and some bananas. My kids eating well. So it was a good use of break for me. Hopefully it was a good use of break for yourself and everyone else out there. We got one more.
Another coffee.
Another coffee. That right. I love the meme, right? You don't crash if you just don't stop. Which reminds me, I haven't had one for another hour, so I probably need a little more. But we got one more section. We stepped on your toe a little. I stepped on your toes a little bit about this. Is going to include change management, communication, getting buy-in. So I'd love to kind of hear how to do that. Have loved the forecasting piece. I think you've been spot on, right? This is the basis of what we do as WFM, right? Schedules is kind of an easy piece. Forecasting gets really challenging, especially in the back office, because of just the lack of data, the lack of clarity. It's such a hard challenge. But outside
but it's not impossible, right?
It's not impossible.
Not impossible.
That's not the only challenge, though, when it comes to back office. It's how do you get the buy-in? How do you get people to be able to actually accept you're here for their good? So I know that's what you have coming up in this next section. I'll take myself off camera and go into learner mode while I learn from you and your experience. Thanks again, Laura.
Thanks, Dan. I'll just give people a couple of seconds 19, in fact, to come back online. It is interesting, though. You're right. Scheduling it's not something that I talk about during the webinar, because it is, it's typically a practice that's implemented into the back office space already. Customers and companies are finding great value just in that process, automating annual leave and, time off events and, special days and those sorts of things is already happening. So, I kind of felt like we get more value out of some of the other insight that I've gained. So I'll move on now, and welcome back. I'm going to start with a poll. So when we think about implementing WFM into the back office, what are some of the roadblocks you have actually encountered or experienced or are experiencing with implementing that into your environment? I'll just give you a few minutes to respond there.
I know when I've gone after this and tried to do this myself and kind of in some of my previous roles, the outside, of course, the forecasting piece, the challenge that I've had is it's not the executive leader buy-in that's the challenge. It's the frontline buy-in that becomes the challenge, right? Like the executive leadership or right below that sees the value of WFM, but it's really the frontline supervisors that I've been challenged with to get them to almost let go to some extent, right? Like peel your hands away from it. Like I promise I can help. That's at least been one of the roadblocks that I've been challenged with when I've tried to go with WFM in the back office. Is that pretty common, or was that really just unique to mine?
No, it's definitely common. Also, in addition to leaders in the back office, it's the staff as well.
Sure.
And some of that has already been combated by implementing schedules. You start with schedules, and that's, I guess, the one thing that most staff have visibility of. So if you can master your schedules in the back office, monitoring adherence, and we kind of talk about that because we don't monitor adherence in the back office, but when we're talking about getting that adoption and acceptance and believing in the value of WFM from a leadership perspective, that is usually that is one of the biggest challenges. And yes, the other one is data, lack of data. As mentioned before, it's not impossible. We can do it. It absolutely can be done. You just got to know where to look for it. You got to know where to ask, what questions to ask, what are the right questions, where do you go? And that can be, that can be a big process. But the value in setting up your forecasting is absolutely, it's hugely valuable.
I think one that often goes unspoken too, but I've seen from other WFM leaders, a possible roadblock is my lack of knowledge or experience in back office. That there's this, I've only ever known contact center. I only know how to do contact center. I've only ever used software for forecasting. So this idea of not having that is scary. And something that we hit on earlier, right, with your experience of so many of those back office practices are so similar, right? There's so much of the work is so similar. And granted, the whole presentation's been about like the unique challenges and complicatedness of back office. But I think one of the roadblocks for WFM professionals is their own confidence. Like, you got this. You do know how to forecast and schedule in back office, even if you've maybe not necessarily experienced it. You can, or we can help, right? Like that's where we might come in on occasion of like, we can come alongside you to say, you really do know what you're doing. Let's just help you find that confidence and find that voice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely true. And I think that, and that's what I guess the message that I'm trying to deliver today is that, as WFM experts, you do know what you're doing.
Right.
And it's just about being able to change that mindset just a little bit to understand it from a leadership perspective in the back office, where they're coming from. Yeah. And so, you mentioned before that whole host show or show host versus
like talking,
pardon me, sorry. Yeah. So it's exactly that sort of scenario. And I think that's really critical in getting, WFM in the back office right and getting it accepted. So, resistant to change, supervisor pushback, lack of data, no buy-in from leadership. There's a whole host, and they're typically the ones that sit on the top of the list from, a challenge perspective when looking at, implementing WFM.
And what's interesting, right? Like I look at these, and these are not necessarily unique to back office. I remember experiencing these when just trying to bring WFM into the contact center for the first time, right? Like this is not no buy-in from leadership, a challenge around data, the fear of losing control. I remember experiencing these when I was trying to do WFM in a startup that was a contact center. So these are not uniquely back office. These are roadblocks for sure, but these are not necessarily unique to back office. This is just change management challenges.
Absolutely it is. And I think that that's what we need to remember, is that it isn't just unique to the back office, but I think that when we're in the WFM role for such a long time, we forget, we're so familiar with the processes, the practices, the operating rhythms, right. The support that we provide to the business, the insight that we give, the guidance that we give. And WFM, the contact center, is really a level of control.
Yeah.
So, you make decisions around when staff can go off. You make decisions around who's actually going to be doing what and when. Right. That's a really big change for the back office. It doesn't happen, where you could just walk in and go, hey, I'm going to take over your environment and tell you how to manage your staff. Like it's not something that you can do. It really is that whole change process. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in this next section.
Well, awesome. I'll stop being a distraction, and I look forward to hearing about that change management.
Thanks, Dan. So the next thing I wanted to talk about are barriers. We've been talking about it already. So, when we are implementing WFM, there are several barriers that you will be challenged with that can have a significant impact to the level of success with your WFM program in the back office specifically, but not just in the back office, as we've just discussed, in all environments, whether it be retail, government, or, manufacturing or packaging, regardless of what it might be. There's definitely going to be a level of resistance because it's a change. It's something that they're not used to. So we need to be considerate of that. Then the one thing that we find is the biggest challenge is leadership resistance. And, it could come in many different forms and for many different reasons. So, there's this perception that WFM is not needed in the back office. They've been operating successfully for a long time, don't understand why it's being proposed now. Why do we need to change? They also have tendency to believe that, it's not needed in their business because they're not a contact center. WFM is a contact center piece of work and it's not needed in their environment. They don't need to manage their staff adherence to schedules to meet the service level because they're doing it already today. Or that maybe they're not doing it. We need to work that out. And the other thing is, they're protective of their work, and their staff. We're going to remember that, majority of leaders already have in their business a detailed understanding of their workload. They know when their peaks and troughs are. They know, which staff are skilled to complete which tasks and how many each staff member can do in a day. So we've got some concept of a handle time. Like, as I mentioned before, there's ways of actually digging out this information. And to support that, they have potentially workflow coordinators or CRM systems that allocate work to staff and manage the workload. So, we need to actually remember that when we're working with leaders and people, that not everyone understands the value of the numbers in the data. We need to be aware and adjust your message. It's really interesting because a disgruntled leader can actually, like I said before, can completely kibosh your program success. Sorry, flick of the finger. Apologies about that. Number 2 on the list is data. And that came up in the poll. And data and leadership acceptance are the 2 biggest issues when implementing WFM into the back office space. Data is often put in the too hard basket, and that's because sometimes it's not readily available. If we can't easily gain access to it, we think, oh, this is too hard, and we park it. Or it might not be easily sourced. There are, several ways of collecting data. Some are traditional and some are not so traditional. So like I said before, we might not have it, but we can definitely get it. I'm not going to talk too much about the detail around data and how to obtain it, but it's definitely worth having a conversation with either your software partner or your CRM provider, because, data warehouse product owner, or there's lots of different options, a reporting team, or your software provider, and actually challenge them to obtain the data in the form that you require. So, CRM systems are not designed for workforce management. They're designed to manage customer requests and customer inquiries or whatever it might be. So, they're actually not designed for that format. We have to try and dig to get the information out of those systems to be able to construct it in a form that can be used in a WFM capacity. I talked about data before. So, in our experience at Call Design, we actually have a team of developers. We understand the value of getting data from a back office perspective. So our developers can integrate with systems, source data from multiple platforms to integrate into a WFM system to be able to, effectively forecast and plan for back office work. Can take a moment, but it's not impossible, like I said before, but it's really important that you get it right. I touched on this a little bit before in the previous slide, but I wanted to expand on, leadership trust in WFM a little bit more. I want you to have a think about a leader that you have encountered or had challenges with recently, or you're thinking of that you need to engage with. Think about it from their perspective. So, they've been managing their business for, let's say, as an example, the last 2 years. They know their business pretty well. The business has never experienced workforce management practices before. So as far as the manager's concerned, they've never done it. But during their time as a leader, they've been challenged to answer questions for, say, missing service levels, maybe a couple of times before. And if that's the case, then I can confidently say that in 95% of these cases where there's supposedly no workforce management practices in place, this leader has devised a way to capture and understand their work, has a process in place to manage their staff and their skills. So that sounds like workforce management to me. They know when their peaks of troughs are. they typically know who can do what and how many of these tasks that each staff member can do. So they've got a pretty good understanding. They have reporting metrics and performance measures. There are learning and development programs and a plan to upskill their staff to make them valuable assets to the business and help the leader achieve their objective, as people development plans and service levels are always in a manager's KPI. So you can guarantee they've put some effort into understanding how to improve those factors. In the absence of a WFM system, they have inadvertently built with homemade tools and an in-house WFM program without realizing it. So they're now in a position where, they know their business, they know their staff, and they know them better than anybody else. It might have taken them months, even years, to work it out because they don't have the workforce management skills. So, if you think about it from that perspective, you can kind of see why they're a bit protective about their information. It's really important that you trust that you can support and simplify their program without dismantling it or discounting all of the hard work that they've done to get there. You can't expect leaders to just hand over their gold nuggets of information. You really need to work on earning their trust, and that comes with time. So you can begin to gain their trust really by engaging them early in the process and keep the communication stream flowing. It needs to flow both ways. Else, it's a directive from the top down. So they've just been told that they have to do it. But in those instances, you'll find that you'll still get a bit of resistance and hesitation from the managers. And they'll make you earn it. They really will make you work hard to earn their trust. But it's really important. So some of the reasons, more reasons why leaders are actually resistant is maybe they don't fully understand what it is that you can do as a workforce management specialist to help them. So there is a gap in the understanding of WFM's purpose, its benefits, or even how it works. They might actually see it as unnecessary because they've already been running the business, or they see it as overcomplicated. And from their perspective, all it will do is disrupt their current workflow because it's a change to their current process. Even though we know it complements it. They may actually resist due to the fear of the unknown. So they might be concerned about their job security or believe that their new processes or the practices and the systems will actually disrupt their staff's productivity. Some managers may resist WFM because they feel it takes away their control over their resources. They are accustomed to making decisions based on their own judgment and experience and could view WFM as an imposition that restricts their autonomy. They may worry that implementing WFM with its focus on efficiency and optimization will negatively impact employee morale. This is fear that rigid scheduling or workload allocation may lead to increased stress, burnout, or dissatisfaction amongst their team members. Implementing WFM systems and tools requires not always heavy, but it does require investment of financial and human resources. So managers might resist WFM because they believe it can potentially strain their budget or require additional personnel for training and implementation. You're talking about a smaller organization, and that can have a really big impact. And WFM relies on data analysis and metrics to make informed decisions. So some managers may actually resist this approach if they prefer to rely on their intuition or their personal judgment rather than objective data. So how do you approach the resistance? Well, change management is key. When you're faced with a resistance from leaders and staff, it's essential to approach the situation with a consultative change approach. Utilizing techniques like the ProSize ADCAR and the 5 Whys can actually help you uncover the underlying issues. In all WFN stalls, leaders want to know what's in it for me. Being able to articulate the value from the leader's perspective can be highly, highly effective. Resistance often stems from fear, unknowns, concerns about increased workload, or lack of understanding of the value that WFM can provide. And change management actually plays a pivotal role in successfully introducing, deploying, and transitioning WFM into the back office so that it is adopted and accepted in a business as usual fashion. Educating leaders and staff alike is key, and be mindful to focus on the what's in it for me during the educational process. Something that I like to talk about is, the power of one. It's a fantastic example when you're talking about your contact centers. Without a shadow of a doubt, the exercise, it demonstrates the impact a single individual can have on their colleagues and customers, if not adhering to the actual schedules. However, it does not have the same impact in the back office. We don't manage staff to schedules, but we do manage the amount of productive time that is actually expected from them. So we need to be careful about the exercises we choose when we're educating staff on WFM benefits. Overcoming resistance to WFM requires effective communication, education, and addressing the concerns of managers. Provide clear explanations using language your leaders will understand of the benefits of WFM and how to interpret the information. Involving managers in the design and decision-making process can help alleviate their resistance. Additionally, offering training and side-by-side coaching and support during the implementation phase can help leaders feel more comfortable and adapt more easily to the new way of working. Change management support processes are critical when implementing WFM into the back office. You will have more success if you take a change management approach. So, common goals. It's important to engage your leaders early in to align your common goals. You're going to have goals that you need to achieve, and the leaders have goals they need to achieve. They might look different on paper, but ultimately the outcome is the same. And collaboration is absolutely key. I'm going to say it over and over again. Collaboration, communication, and open minds. By identifying your shared objectives, organisations can work toward a common purpose, ensuring that WFM strategies and initiatives support the overarching goals of the business whilst empowering managers to make staffing decisions with confidence. In many instances, management benefit from acquiring a comprehensive understanding of the principles and practical aspects related to WFM. Core Design offers specialised courses, designed to educate managers on the value and insight that WFM can provide. So engage management early. I'm going to do it again. I say it again, and I can't stress it enough how important it is to involve management on the journey from the beginning to the end. As WFM leaders and people in WFM, we know how frustrating it can be when IT make a decision about the software being implemented without our consult. So we need to consider the same for our managers. Make sure you're proactive. I can't stress it enough. Your goals are their goals. Remember, you're supporting the business. You're not taking over the business. We are working on a unified vision, mission, and value system. So it's my advice to work with your stakeholders and define what success looks like in your program, what is in scope and what's out of scope. Treat it like a project, because it is. When you first embark on your WFM back office journey, it's important to set baseline outcomes and key metrics to align with your success criteria. This way you can validate the improvements and the value provided. This should then align with the internal and external return on investment the business is wanting to realise or needs to realise. Make sure you review and refine your method. consistently provide assistance to the staff and to managers, insights and guidance. Remember that as a WFM expert, you have a much wider spread of visibility and insight than the rest of the business. It should be your goal to become the trusted advisor for the organisation. So implementing workforce management into the back office brings several benefits to a company. It provides efficiency and streamlining workflows and automating tasks, resulting in faster turnaround times and increased productivity, leading to improved customer satisfaction. So return on investment in back office workforce management can be achieved through various factors. While the specific ROI will depend on the organisation, there's a couple of common ways where WFM can contribute to a positive return. Okay, first of all, we've got WFM tools and processes that help optimize work allocation and streamline workflows by highlighting task prioritization, facilitating collaboration, and leveraging data insights. It helps distribute workload evenly among available resources, preventing overburdening of specific individuals or teams. By balancing workload across the workforce, organisation can prevent burnout, improve employee satisfaction, and ensure that resources are utilised effectively and efficiently. Workforce management enables better utilisation of resources by aligning staffing levels with workload demand. It facilitates the identification of peak periods, enabling effective resourcing and recruitment plans. By avoiding overstaffing or understaffing situations, WFM ensures a balanced workforce allocation. It allows organisations to align their workforce with actual demand and reduce unnecessary labour costs and expenses. Efficient back office operations positively impacts the overall customer experience by enhancing timely processing of tasks, faster response times, and improved accuracy. This translates into faster service, fewer errors, and increased satisfaction of our customers. We all know that satisfied customers are more likely to be loyal and refer others, leading to increased revenue and long-term return on investment. Compliance and quality is just as important in the back office as it is in any other department. By combining WFM, quality management, and the learning and development program, you can improve adherence to service level agreements, avoid penalties, and safeguard the business reputation. Leveraging analytics and reporting capabilities, leaders can make informed decisions about process improvement opportunities, resource allocation, and performance management. These data-driven decisions lead to more effective resource utilisation, reduced costs, and improved operational outcomes, ultimately contributing to a higher return on investment. The workforce management system promotes empowerment and autonomy by giving staff visibility into their schedules and automates time off requests, equity, and performance. This transparency promotes a positive work environment, employee satisfaction, and overall well-being. It allows employees to plan their personal lives more effectively and achieve a better work-life balance. So at Cool Design, we do believe that everybody, including managers, everybody that works for the organisation has the right to be happy, engaged, fulfilled, and aligned at work. We also firmly believe that WFM can contribute to these values in several ways. So what role does WFM play in HEFA? Do you like that? HEFA. Happy, engaged, fulfilled, and aligned. It promotes work-life balance through optimized schedules and workload distribution, reduces over time ensuring a better work-life balance for employees. By avoiding excessive workload and providing predictable schedules, WFM can contribute to improved employee satisfaction and well-being. Self-service portals and mobile apps allow employees to manage their schedules, request time off, or shift swaps, and empowers employees by giving them more control over their work schedules, fostering a sense of autonomy. The reduced administration burden of automating employee requests allows staff to focus on more meaningful and fulfilling work, leading to increased job satisfaction and engagement. Clear communication of performance expectations, goals, and metrics. Employees who have visibility into their performance metrics and how they contribute to the overall team or organisational goals help align employees with the larger objectives and create a sense of purpose and fulfilment. It assists with skills development and career progression by providing insights into workload patterns, skill requirements, and staffing needs. The WFM data can help identify staffing gaps and provide opportunities for training and development. By aligning training initiatives with business needs, WFM contributes to employee growth, career progression, and job satisfaction. It facilitates effective team communication and collaboration. Through the different features and functions, employees can easily collaborate, share knowledge, and support each other. This fosters a sense of teamwork, engagement, and camaraderie amongst staff. WFM systems often include performance tracking and analytics, providing additional insight to managers to assist with tracking employee performance. The data-driven approach enables fair recognition of employees' contributions and provides a basis for reward and incentive programs. Recognizing and rewarding employees for achievements can improve employee engagement and motivation. So overall, WFM contributes to creating a positive work environment by providing staff with a sense of control, empowerment, clear expectations, and opportunities for growth. By optimizing work processes, promoting work-life balance, and fostering a collaborative culture, WFM helps to create happier, more engaged, fulfilled, and aligned staff. So what next? Choose a pilot team. So for the first cab off the rank, you want to select a team that is kind of mid-range. They're not too easy to implement and not too hard. You want to be able to challenge it a little bit and prove your value to the business. You want to create confidence in the business that your program can work for everybody and gain an advocate leader in the process. Work with the leader that has a good influence in the business. I think that's a really critical point to point out. You want someone that has some business influence so that they can promote what it is that you're doing to support the organization and how you can help the rest of the business. Ensure you have tools designed to capture the right business information to ensure that no stone is left unturned. Keep the entire business at the front of mind when you're collecting your information, because there's always snippets that are valuable to note. You need to be mindful of that. Make a special note about special patterns that make you curious. It could be data, it could be processing operating rhythms, or behavior. And identify what's working and what's not working in the business already. Make sure you're asking the right questions. And ultimately, one question I always ask managers is, what does utopia look like for you? You want to review your process, analyze the data, revise it if needed, refine it, refine your methods, and validate it. Once you've collected the data, go back to the managers and validate it with them as well, because that will help to build confidence that you're on the right path and you're working together to get that end result. We need to keep in mind that our businesses are constantly changing And as WFM specialists, we need to constantly look for better ways of supporting our business. WFM as a service offers a comprehensive solution for organisations seeking to optimise their workforce management practices. By leveraging the service, teams can collaborate effectively, gain valuable insights, address workload challenges, and make informed decisions regarding resource utilisation. It unfolds as a powerful tool that can assist with the transitioning of businesses from a reactive to a more proactive planning approach for today, tomorrow, and in the future. The transformational benefits WFM provides the back office fosters an environment of transparency, enhanced client service delivery, and cultivates organisational awareness. The versatility of WFM is absolutely remarkable, as it can be tailored to address specific inquiries, identify potential issues, and drive overall operational success. The benefit derives from embracing WFM as a service are vast and positively impact the entire organisation. Okay, so next steps. Dan.
I'm here.
That was the last slide in my presentation.
Every section was packed full, but this last one felt like a lot. Like I was like taking so many notes. I'm like, oh, I love that. I love that. And of course, I mean, I'm a big fan of HEFA. I'm a big fan of the message around like workforce management can help improve employee lives, employee environments. Right. I think one question we kind of hit on earlier around like how are the back office employees going to feel about Big Brother WFM coming in, and that's the whole point. Don't come in that way. You come in trying to support, come in trying to help, because you're not there to necessarily increase productivity, although part of the ROI, it's about you can have this holistic approach to workforce management, improving the customer experience, improving the agent or the employee experience, improving the profitability for the company. It can be all of it.
And improving the team leader experience as well. You know, exactly. As I mentioned before, you know, team leaders they've been working hard to understand their business, manage their processes and practices. And, you know, working with a customer more recently, you know, in the back office, trying to get a contact center WFM expert in their own environment, you know, be able to support the back office part of the business. It was interesting having those conversations. The manager actually said to me, you know, I 100% trust this person's capability and her numbers and her skill, but there was just this resistance to let it go, you know, to actually hand it over. And, you know, that's where we can provide that guidance and that support to, you know, help our WFM experts, you know, support the leaders. And it's about changing your mindset. You know, you've got to really change the way that you think about it and think about it from the leader's perspective, because when you're looking at implementing WFM, you know, you get all these great benefits and all these wonderful things, but it really is about helping leaders achieve their KPIs as well. Exactly. You know, we've got people are motivated by reward and recognition and outcomes. And, you know, if you've got a leader that has a specific KPI, guaranteed it's going to align with your own in a WFM space. So it's about how do you transition the terminology and the way of thinking about that KPI into a leader's, you know, way of thinking and their understanding of what a KPI is. So you've really got to have the ability to be able to translate information from WFM to business and business to WFM. That's a two-way street. It's not one way, you know, you're not pushing it one way and it's not being pushed the other. It really is, you know, in the back office, a more collaborative requirement and approach. You know, you want to be seen as trusted advisors in the business, you know, providing insight and guidance. Because when you're looking at WFM across the operations and across the back office space, you have visibility of all of the different teams, all of the work. You've got insight to all of the staff, you know, where are their peaks and their troughs, who's got more resources, who's got less resources. And, you can really provide some insight and guidance and valuable information to each of the groups, whether it be collectively or individually, to help improve all of the elements and all of the reasons why we're here. We're here to service our customers. If it wasn't for our customers, we wouldn't have a job. So how can we do it better?
Sure.
And that really is, the purpose of, implementing WFM into the back office and the role of a WFM expert or forecast planner or scheduling analyst or, whatever roles there might be in the back office. So, because the roles are slightly different too.
Absolutely.
Depends on the software you've got, or even if you have software.
Or no software, right.
Yeah, as to what that might look like. So,
yeah. It's so true, and it reminds me of a conversation I had with someone else recently. Of they had these best practices, and it was working well inside of the environment that their WFM team touched, but there were these other verticals that they weren't touching. And they're like, we can help. We have these best practices. We know that we can improve that environment. And part of the challenge I help them see is if you come into those environments saying we have best practices, sure, that sounds like you're trying to help, but really what it comes across as is we know what's best, right? When you start out with we have best practices, it means you're not doing it right now. This isn't the best way to do it, and they're going to have those defensive walls. I was trying to coach them to say what you need to do is instead of coming in with an agenda, you come in saying, how can I help? What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And what's going to happen is they're going to give you a lot of goals that you probably don't care about. Like, let's be honest, right? Like as a WFM professional, they're going to have all of these KPIs and their environment is this broad, wide spectrum. There's going to be some in there that you're like, I don't know if I can help with conversion. I don't know if I'm going to be able to help improve your CSAT. But I can improve.
You can, right?
You can, but there's going to be these pieces, right? And you're going to say, I can't help with 3 of the 5, but those 2, have you thought about? And that's where you get your best practices in, right? You don't start with it. You say, what are your goals? How can I support you? And I think that resistance comes down a lot more, right? That resistance of like, don't come in telling me you know what's best. We come in saying, what are you doing over here and how can I help? And that just builds bridges, I think, a lot more.
Yeah, agreed. But just to respond to that, when it comes to generating more revenue, increasing sales, well, you kind of can help with that. Sure. Because if you're scheduling the right people in the right place at the right time, then you've got more chance of making those sales.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it goes much deeper than that. You've got to have the right resources on with profitable, potential improved, returns on actually accepting. From a customer perspective. So there's a lot of data analytics that goes on in the background to that sort of perspective. But, if you look at it from a business perspective or a customer perspective or a staffing perspective, and you list out all of the expectations that all of those people want, 90% of those things you can help and to achieve with WFM practices, forecasting workload, getting the right people with the right skill to do the right amount of work, servicing within requirements. They've got service levels in the back office, like 85% of the work needs to be done, within 99 days or whatever it might be. But, all of those factors, almost everything hinges on a good WFM practice. You can have good quality management practices and performance management practices. And when you combine all 3 of those, annual learning development plans, you end up with this really robust way of managing and supporting your staff and your environment. So, quality management can't really be, completed or conducted without WFM. Performance management, it's not difficult to manage or monitor. You can do it, but you'll get more productivity out of your staff if, they know what they're supposed to be doing on a day-to-day basis. Or, if they have some sort of insight in terms of, what are the things that I should be working on? But, it goes much deeper than that. So, we talk about the standard, benefits that WFM can provide, but it's so much more than that. So much more than...
It is, and it's this just robust conversation, both just WFM in general and WFM in the back office. I I know I have benefited from your knowledge. I just personally wanted to say thank you for kind of sharing your expertise and your knowledge here. I'm sure that the audience has felt it's incredibly valuable as well. But this isn't just it, right? Like what I love is that I know that you had this presentation put together, which I think is awesome, but I also know that you've been writing some blogs. So as a possible next step for people that are out there, on our website, Call Design NA, that's Call Design North America, so Call Design NA. .com. You can find our blogs, and it will be there. There's one article as of when we are talking right now. There's one article up. There should be one coming up either today or tomorrow, and then there's a third one coming shortly. So if this is a recording and you're rewatching this, go check it out. There's probably multiple pieces. And yeah, you already switched over. Why don't you talk a little bit about what are some of these QR codes that you got up here?
So the first one is thought leadership on back office. That takes you to the link of the blogs that are available online. As Dan mentioned, I've been writing, I've got a couple, and there are more to come. If anybody is interested in understanding anything more or has some more questions or thoughts, please send those questions or thoughts through. I'm more than happy to share my insight. Writing blogs on what people want to know is obviously very valuable. We have some back office training as well. So we've got some back office courses. There's two specifically. One is back office essentials for WFM managers, contact center WFM managers, and there's another one that is WFM in the back office. So a little bit of a flip in terms of the way that they're delivered because of the insight that WFM managers will already have and the skills. Versus, well, what does it mean from a back office perspective? Or what does back office look like? Which is an elaboration of some of the insight that I've shared with you today. The consulting for back office. Sorry, give me 1 second.
No, you're good.
Consulting for back office is a QR code for me. It'll give you a link to all of my details, my contact details with Call Design. So if you do have any questions, you can reach directly to me via email or call. But they're calling from North America. We need to consider the time zones because I am in Sydney.
You're going to be getting calls at midnight. You just got to be careful now.
Yeah, I know.
Email.
Yeah, email, please. Thank you. And the back office ebook. So that's currently in progress, and we'll have an update on that one shortly.
Awesome. That's a lot. And hopefully what the audience kind of takes away from this is that at least in Call Design, we are looking at this back office as a very serious conversation, right? That we kind of started the whole session almost 3 hours ago with Vicky talking about SWPP, talking about kind of the conversations that's happening in the WFM space. And back office has been around for a while. Obviously, you've been consulting in back office for years now. And this is something that we want to help WFM professionals with. This doesn't have to be something that they have to do on their own. It doesn't have to be something that they guess at. This doesn't have to be something that they kind of figure out by stumbling and making a ton of mistakes. There's resources, whether that's Laura or the blog content or the ebook or the online training. We want to help. The back office is complicated. It's confusing. Laura, I think you'd say probably you've scratched the surface on a lot of this content, on a lot of the topics. So I think at least from my perspective, and Laura, I'll give you the last word, but my final thought is, let us help, right? Don't try to do this on your own. There's a lot of challenges. We have learned from a lot of mistakes over the year. Allow us to use that knowledge to help you avoid those mistakes. So at least that's my last word. Laura, I'd love to hear a last word from you before we end today's session.
I think you summarized it very well, Dan. Thank you so much for that. But absolutely, we have a plethora of experience. We have worked with many different customers, and I have scratched the surface. There's so much more that's involved in the back office. And, I from my experience, whether you've got a software system or no software system, we can help. Whether we're assessing your current WFM program to see how or if there is an opportunity to improve, that's something that we can help with. So, the opportunities are endless. Don't hesitate to reach out for any questions. I'm more than happy to help. that's what we do at Core Design. We help our customers become champions in their business. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
This was fun. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, and we look forward to bringing you on again soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.